Welcome back. Today I'm doing this a little different than usual. As you see here, I've already got a complete build. Well, I'll call it 99.9% because of course we're going to have a few more little details to add to this beauty. But the main focus of this is a build breakdown and a walkthrough of what I've got here on this WTMicro extended cab Willy truck build. So if that's something you're interested in, stick around. Figure we would start at the exterior. That seems logical. So as always, these bodies from WTMicro come raw resin printed and they are just really nice quality. You can see the detail there. No exterior body work necessary on these, no sanding. You may want to take away some of the little bumps on the underside of the fenders and the windows with a little sanding stick from where the resin supports were, but other than that, these bodies are basically perfect, ready to be painted. So speaking of that, I use Tamiya line of paints pretty much all the time. So with this one, no different. Started with the fine surface primer in white because I was using a bright color. And then I ended up picking out the TS49 bright red out of the, I think Tamiya's got maybe 4 reds. But this is pretty pure, no orange, kind of like a fire truck red. So I think that came out really nice. And then the roof, as always, is the TS27 matte white. And that's it, just looks really nice. And then once I got the panel lining and all the detail on there, sealed this up with some TS79 semi-gloss clear to give me a little bit of sheen. And then speaking of the details, the headlight bezels, I use this Krylon Premium Metallic Original Chrome. This seems to be one of the nicest chrome paints that I've found. I usually use it for the bezels, and I've sprayed some resin wheels and it just looks fantastic. And then for all the chrome detailing and the dry brushing, I use Testors Model Master, just chrome silver. And then everybody asks me what I use for the panel lines on the trucks. So what I use is water base, and it's really nice because you can slop it and then wipe it off with a Q-tip and water, and it doesn't affect your paint job because the paint is not water based. So this is what I use, but I cannot find it online anywhere. The detailer, Black It Out detailing liquid. So I'm sure you could mix up your own. You can see originally I got this at a hobby shop, but they don't carry it anymore. So anyways, I don't think it'd be too hard to mix up a little bit of water-based black and kind of achieve the same thing, but the panel lines really work and pop everything on this body to that next level. You can see that dry brushing for the 4-wheel drive logo, a couple little bolts there. Let's take a look at the back. So here I infilled these slots with maybe 3 or 4 coats of that panel liner to get a nice black painted look there. And then we've got some chrome bolt heads on the back as well. So just super nice the way this came out. So I think now we're ready to maybe take a look inside. All right, I have conveniently not glued in the top so we can have a nice bird's eye view of the layout within. So pretty simple, pretty clean, and plenty of room in there. So let's open this guy up. We'll start inside. So this comes with the LCG kit from WTMicro, as all of his new ones pretty much do. And it comes with magnets and the sliders as well that fit the body. So this build kind of started with this Torq servo because I wanted to try this. It has no servo mount ears, has the rear exit cord, and this thing is just perfect for a stock frame. So you don't have any of those clearance issues you typically have. Didn't have to cut the C channels at all, Dremel anything. So it's just a great solution for stock rails. And I'm sure it's a great solution for other rails. The only thing I didn't like was the servo horn, and you can see I've got a MOFO horn, which is a little bit longer. I think it's because the mount here may stick this up a little bit higher, I'm not sure, but it's got the mount built in, as you can see. So it's a super clean little servo solution and plenty of power thus far as I've tested it. And then I guess because of that little bit of red, that kind of cued in using this FURITEK system I had on hand. So I've got that little guy in there, the Micro Komodo, and then I've got a Rockwolf ESC, and then my little 4-channel FlySky receiver that I typically use. So pretty nice little system, starting with red, and of course that informed the body color as well. So I think that came out looking really slick there. So let's flip it over here, take a look at the underside. That's really convenient without the roof on. So you can see here for the links, did a little customization here. So the front is JLU links on the bottom, but you can see I've got a 2 mil spacer to stretch those. And then the tops are actually deadbolts, and those have a 6 mil stretch, so a 2 and a 1 on each end. So that gives me a nice kickback caster. You can see that axle. So very nice setup there on the front. And in the rear, I did something similar. I stretched the top links. These are C10 rears, or these are actually Gladiator, excuse me. This is Gladiator because this is a extended wheelbase here. So just a little kick, I think 2 millimeters on those uppers, but that kicks this back, puts this axle shaft up within those high clearance links. So nice profile when you're squatted, everything is up and clear. So just like always, I'm right here at the grill with the servo horn. So I've got this guy maxed out. Let me see if I can get it twisted here. This is there we go. So you can see great steering angle. And that's another thing I'll mention here. I put the EXO U-joints in here, remove the outer axle bearing, but it just gives you that insane steering right there. So you can see that servo horn position is right there behind the grill, coming up about as close as it can get behind the LEDs in here. So we'll look at those LEDs here in a moment. But great clearances there. I've got the Hot Racing long travel oil shocks. Got the medium rate springs right now, so it's not sitting super slammed. So we'll go back to the underside here. So of course, Super 8s, obviously front and rear. So brass up front, and then I've got an aluminum in the back here. So no extra weight added to this guy. I did remove, or actually this one was just a housing, so I didn't remove anything. I added, what was it, a 213 overdrive to this, so this will have a 23%. So it's not balancing perfectly here on the tires. Maybe if it was squatted and limited, it would, I'm guessing. But pretty happy with the overall look and stance as of now. Can always tune it. So this other little piece of bling on the bottom is a skid from MRC, otherwise known as Magic Racing. So I thought that would go nicely. It's got a couple little like chrome strips or raw strips. I thought that would be nice with the little spacers and the chrome detailing here. So overall, nice little setup on the suspension there. Getting nice and low, getting full travel out of everything. No clearance issues, obviously, with that servo. So I guess the last thing here would be the lighting. So as always, these little guys on the bottom, they're 1.3s, I believe, LEDs. And then these are the normal 3 millimeters that you typically use. And then on the rear, same, I've got some 3 millimeters, but on this one, I painted some clear red over the LEDs. The LEDs are red, but they just had a clear bulb. So I wanted to get that kind of brake light look all the time. So that was a nice little detail to get those red. And then, you know, typical kind of routing here. Routed these together on each side, brought them back, and then just made a little whip extension. Make sure everything can hinge, same with the rear lights, but just super easy. And then the only other little note here on this chassis was, you can see I lopped off the front end here. So this is the first WTMicro I've had any kind of clearance issues. Let's make sure this is all in. But you can see where that LED cord is coming up. So I needed that little bit of clearance on the frame. So basically just chopped off that one extra little screw hole there and a little bit of his plastic mount to take off maybe 3 millimeters of length there, roughly. But super easy to do, and makes this just a perfect little build here. So I've got to glue the top on, and what did I say earlier? We were 99.9% done with this, so we've got a few more little details to add, and then maybe we'll get a battery in here. And that 0.1% brings us to the only thing we have not talked about yet, and that is wheels and tires. And as you can see, I've got a nice little new addition here with some scale hubs. So that may be my final little 0.1% there to complete this guy. So I think this is looking stellar, exactly what it needed. So more on the wheels and tires. So these are brand new wheels from WTMicro. So what better option than to get some WTMicro rims on WTMicro body. So these are now fully aluminum wheels. In the past, he made resin wheels, which were gorgeous, but he has now graduated up to the real deal. So a nice bright finish to go well with the chrome, and then a black ring. And then I've added scale hardware to really pop these guys. And those look just incredible. And then I've got the 57mm Trench Kings with Injora silicone inserts wrapped around these guys. So that 57-58 seemed about the right clearance here for this rig. So we'll look at it at twist here. So just perfect right there at the fender. And then we'll flip it over and look at this bumper clearance. So the same here, right there at the fender. So a good size with these kind of zero offset, or maybe these are positive offset, but they sit in nicely. So they're not extremely wide on these Super 8s. You can see they cover over most of the knuckle there. So just a really killer stance overall, and just couldn't be happier with WTMicro's products as always. So I think that is just the final little step there to complete this guy. And I think before we go any further, let's take a closer look at these WTMicro rims. I've got another set that's not mounted up. And then of course, you know we're not done. We're gonna put some alternates on this guy. Quick look at the second set he offers. It is the same style, but a nice bronze coloration instead of the bright silver. It's got the black ring. So it comes with hardware, as you see, and aluminum rings installed. But it also includes these lightweight printed rings as well. So let's get this guy on and do a little weight comparison. I have not done this. So we have an 8.2 aluminum versus 3.2 plastic. So installed right now on the truck is aluminum all the way around. So let's test the wheels here as well. So a pretty good difference there. The front's not super heavy, not being brass, but if you tune to the plastic in the rear, you still get that weight bias. So not bad at all. The only note on these guys is when I installed the first couple of pieces of hardware with the tire to cinch the ring down, I actually marred the ring. You can see there's an inset, but it's not wide enough for these pieces of hardware to really seat. So I ended up scratching a few of those around the ring. So I just took, you know, a Sharpie, touched them up, and then for the install, I actually used the scale hardware for the install, and I just squeezed the ring down by hand, so I wasn't using the scale hardware to put pressure on the ring, and then I just cinched them in, and that worked just fine. But just be aware of that. You don't want to tear up your ring, so you may just need to adjust how you install these guys. But overall, beautiful looking wheels, and I think what I'm going to do is check the weight on the truck and see if we need to adjust, maybe go to these guys in the rear, and then like I said, we're going to pick out some alternates for this guy. Well, that was a little surprising on the weight bias. So overall weight, pretty good, 484 I think, without the battery. So I'm always thinking about a 420 build, 60/40 is about perfect. At least the builds I have in that range perform really well. So weight-wise, I think that's pretty good, but the bias really shocked me. It's a 56/44, so not much bias to the front. I don't know why with that brass axle. So what we'd like to do is get that more towards a 60/40. So you can see I've got those plastic rings out there. So I think those are gonna go in the rear wheels for these, and hopefully that'll give maybe a percentage more to the front, push us up to a 57/43. But that's definitely going to inform all the other wheels coming. I'm going to tune those guys to be forward heavy out of the gate. So hopefully that will improve the front bias there moving forward. So anyways, quick swap out here, reweigh, and then let's take a look at some new wheels. Alternates. And for those, we've got 3 out here. They're not all going to get used, but they're all the same wheel basically. So I've got one out here. This is actually one that I used on my cheat code Willy cab. So the bronze with the satin ring and all aluminum, so nice and lightweight. So that build had all brass axles on it, so I wanted lightweight wheels. So they also offer this black all aluminum with the satin ring. So again, comes with this same tire, which I actually really like this tire. Not too bad at all. The compound feels good. And you can see this is in use over here on that other build. So recently they came out with these black, these are like a satin black with a brass ring on them. And these are all brass. So we've got a full brass wheel and a full aluminum wheel. I'm gonna move this out of the way here. So I was in a quandary. I really like the satin here with the chrome. And of course, I like the brass with this front axle. So I think both of those would be really nice accents. So the question is, how do you make a brass and an aluminum wheel set equal? So the answer is we're gonna mix and match. So we're gonna put all 4 brass rings on the front. And then for the brass face, we're gonna put an aluminum back on that all around. And then the same with this aluminum front, we're gonna put a brass back. So we ought to have basically equal weight, and then we'll put heavier rings up front on both sets, and we'll put the aluminum rings in the rear on both sets. So that ought to set them up equal. And then I've got to just pick out some tires. And I'll admit, I don't have them all figured out yet, but I do know I'm going to use these new Proline Toyo Open Countries for sure. So I'll get this out of the way. So they come like all Prolines, pre-mounted to some plastic wheels, but a nice looking AT. And of course this is licensed, so we've got a real tire here, nice and scale. And I'm hoping to fill these out. They have a good width to them, but stretch them a little bit more on those deep dish wheels. So I've got one off right here, nice foam. And they do feel pretty firm on the sidewall already. And I think that's just because of the shape of the tire, but they are real stiff at that corner edge there. So they may not need a super stiff foam to support that because I've already got it. So you can see I've got some Injora silicone inserts in the smaller, like 54, 55 range, whatever that is. So those ought to fill in these nicely. I believe these are around 57, 58s. So basically putting about the same height. They look like they may be a little taller, but once we stretch them on the deep dish, they should probably be about the same. Of course, these are gonna have a much bigger offset sticking out. So a negative offset hub, which will actually push the wheel positively out from the body edge. But not sure which rims these are going on, the aluminum or the brass ring, but we'll find out in a second. All right, we've got this second set, and man, I think we hit the nail on the head with this. I'm really digging that satin against the chrome. It's picking up all those little highlights nicely. And man, filling out these Proline Toyo tires nicely. Really liking that AT tread, and they feel really good with these inserts, giving them a nice amount of squish here. So look at that. I think it's helping that kind of hard angle, getting these guys stretched out a little bit wider. But overall, I think they look really good. And check the clearances here. You can see I disconnected my drag link to make this easy. Not put strain on that servo, but yeah, right there at the fender. So that is just money. Let's check this. So right here at this fender as well at full twist. So it doesn't look like any issues with this offset. and tire size. But man, looking proper, look great with that red center cap with the silver. We'll see if that's gonna work with the brass, but definitely looks good with the satin outer lip there. But super happy with these guys. So I think now, get a quick weigh in, see if these jumped us up any more than 57. And then the next thing we're gonna have to do is actually pick out some tires for that third set of wheels. All right, we've got more brand new here on the table. So this is LOUISE RC, and I had to have a really wide shot because this is excessively large packaging for such small tires. So they've come out with 4 new 1.0 tires. I guess these are the first entry for them into the 1.0 world. They make a lot of other size tires, but they've got the Mallet, the Champ, the Rowdy, and the Uphill. So let's take a closer look at these guys. And these are all about the same size of what's on the truck, about a 57, 58, nice width. So this is the Mallet. So this is kind of a hybrid AT, MT. Looks really good. All I've heard is good things about these. The compound feels really good. So next one is the Champ, and we step up to a little more aggressive mud terrain. So that's a fairly recognizable tread pattern right there. So again, great looking tire. Thirdly, we're stepping up even more aggressive here, getting rowdy. So big chunks here. So I don't think this looks like any like a real tire that I know. Really good looking though, very aggressive. And then lastly, we've got the Uphill. So this is like a pin tire. So nice wide donutty width on all of these. So really nice compound, like I say. So the only thing now is I've got to pick one of these out, and I think I know what I'm gonna pick. I'm gonna go for probably the tamest tread look, but I think that's probably the most appropriate for the Willy truck. So I'm gonna get these mounted up, but I wanted to show you all those great new options to have. So anyways, we'll be back in a second. I just have no words here. These look super sick. These were definitely my first choice for the deep dish, just based on the axle before I even knew the color of the body. And man, they just look fantastic. What a great accent. And man, they look awesome against the red and gold. Man, that looks good. And that red center cap, that seems to work, I guess because of the silver hardware on those wheels. It doesn't clash. But man, these freaking mallets look super mean. Feel really good on those inserts, and look how wide they are. Just super stretched. So these should be basically the same, maybe a little smaller than those other ones. So it looks like a little bit better clearance. Look at that. Just so nice, super meaty. So I think this set, I'm not gonna weigh. They're probably gonna be the same weight as that last set. Probably again with the 57-43, just a little bit heavier overall. So man, that gives this bad boy 3 pretty mean sets right here. But you know what? I'm thinking about WILDCARDS. And here we are with a mess of WILDCARD options here on the table. So I pretty much knew I was gonna go with some 57mm Black Label tires. So I've got those test fit, and with this kind of weight bias issue, I was wanting to try out these new Little Guy Racing aluminum center rings. So they've just come out with these guys. They're nice and lightweight. You can see they're even, they've cut out material across the middle to make these just super light. So this will allow to tune the rear light, keep that brass ring in the front, similar to the other setups. Got some other new stuff from Little Guy to go along with those rings. So you see there, 2 new wheels. Those are the Vortex. So similar to the Cyclone, but they've got more spokes on them. And I'm really digging both colors, and I was really liking that bronze on the red, but it's just too much of a clash against the brass for me to want to use it here. And Tell you the truth, I was kind of thinking a solid black would look good on here, so I'm leaning towards the black Vortex, although my initial plan was actually the new black Ghosts. And I picked these up maybe a few weeks before the Vortex came out, and they look stellar, but I just don't think they look as good on the truck. And I've got another tire and another build plan for these guys that I think are gonna really set them off. And something about these, I'm just liking kind of the classic spoke look. There's no real, fancy pattern to it, just kind of a dense black spoke. So fairly classic looking, at least in my mind. I think it looks great against that red. So I think that makes the choice. And I'll share one other little thing that's handy. So you can see I had all these mounted up. Well, I did that in 2 seconds. You can actually just slip the tire bead in here. So I just test mounted all these super quick. So super handy. I don't know if you can do that with all tires, but worked really well with the little guy wheels and little guy tires. All right, final set here with the WILDCARDS. And I think this is a winner chicken dinner. Hard to beat black. And I really like how these basically just appear almost solid. They're so dense with all the spokes. But just once again, looking killer with some black labels. Gonna be no clearance issues here. Look at that, just the money right there. Not even rubbing. Right here, just kissing it. So super nice. Get that drag link back up there. But man, this looks great in black. I mean, that really pops the red. Just super happy with that decision. We'll save those black Ghosts for another day. Wanted to take one last look at the lineup here, and man, it is impressive. You can see the width difference there as we kind of stack up on those 3 piles there to the brass ring. So some different options there on weight, size, and definitely styling. So very happy with this outcome here. So basically this build is wrapped. Oh, wait a minute. Yeah, that's key. Gonna need to get that guy glued in, and I think we're due for a little testing. All right, back ready to test, and you can tell a little difference in the stance. Did a little tuning here, put some rubber bands at the shock points all the way around. So we're basically sitting almost full droop. Got a little bit of down travel. So nice tucked height there should help the side hilling, should help the climbing and descending. So I think now let's get this guy turned on. Already got the battery in there, little 250 3S. And you can see these rubber bands, they go around the inside, kind of where the shock mounts. And I forgot to mention, I'm using the Injora little aluminum spacers. So those make handy little limiting points there. They give you a little width to put that rubber band inside the shock, nice and hidden. So that's super nice. And then my on-off is right here. Very convenient. Just tuck that battery. And we are good to go. First off, we're just gonna do a quick little motor test here and just see how smooth this guy is. See how slow we can get this guy, look at that. Nice and quiet. So we'll get a little closer to the end of FOC. So there's a little stutter, but it's still smooth as far as the drive. And then right out of it. So that's nice. I mean, no real jump. You can hear it, but you don't see it. There's a little ticking. But that's still pretty smooth for being the transition point. I mean, I can live with that. I've definitely seen worse coming out of FOC. You gotta remember, this is basically a plug and play with this Rockwolf. You do need to set your low voltage cutoff, and I may have just tweaked the KV to match this FURITEK little micro Komodo, but really, that's it. So I think, why don't we get on to maybe a little climbing here. Let's see if we can start with something nuts. One thing I've noticed is this front axle being so heavy, you can see that can twist and topple this truck pretty easily because there's not a lot of weight in the back. So you gotta be kind of careful on that. Let's reposition. See if we can get these black labels to eat this up. Look at that. Just smooth as butter, right on up. Look at that. And then we coated that just minuscule creep. Right on down. Beautiful. All right, we'll come at this a little different here. Get those squish. These black labels with these inserts, man, they just work like magic. Take this little edge. It looks so good with those Vortex wheels. Just really digging them. Let's reposition. Ease it down. No problem. All right, next up, what probably are my favorite wheels. These WTMicro. Like that, no problem for these Trench Kings. See if we can continue the success here. Sure we can. And then we'll descend the steep edge here. Gotta watch that rear end, don't want to flop it. This heavy front axle. Right on down, nice little descent. Expensive wheels, just gorgeous. Gorgeous wheels. Beautifully done, Matthew. As always, top-notch design. Oh, can we not get this? A little wider shot here. See if these Trench Kings can get it done. And twist. You think the black labels would have done that? Let's try this again. Let's change it up here. Because a lot of times it's just about your approach. So if we can twist this geometry up a little different, we might can do it. Look at that. Look at that. Well, I wasn't watching what I was doing, but we're gonna recover quite nicely and down the backside. I gotta say, I think I'm happy with these tires. Trench Kings are usually pretty reliable. And they seem to be creeping and crawling just fine. Look at that little side hill action. See if we can do this without flopping. Look at that. Nice steering angle, bring us on around. Very nice. Quick wheel swap, and we are now in wide stance mode. So we've got these Toyo open countries to take a look at. See if we can get these, look at that squish. Nice. Conforming very well. So we've got a little more weight all the way around in these wheels. So that ought to help us keep, you know, this thing planted. Let's just go into creep mode here. Look at that, super nice. No problem. Yeah, I'm really liking these Toyos. They look super good on these deep dish. So look at that, definitely dragging that axle. All right, I'm gonna come back at this. Just loving these wheels with that satin lip. Looks just beautiful. Really nice looking wheels. Up and over. That just creeping. Cannot beat that control. Let's see if that'll save us on this slide. There we go, a little bit of slide, but kind of unavoidable when you're on plastic. A bit of a new challenge. Get this thing angled back a little bit. Look at that approach angle, just perfect. Not bumping the nose at all. Creep it up to the stair step. Look at that. Let's see if we can get it. No problem, man. Looks like these Toyos are making it happen. Easy, easy. No problem. Down we go. All right, we've got this last set to check out. These mallets on the brass ringed or rimmed deep dish. And they don't seem to be having any problems climbing. Definitely look killer. Come down this edge here. Just creep. And then there's the unavoidable plastic slide. Nice departure though. All right, well this may finish us out here. As far as the testing, I think we've had a pretty good look at the truck, at all of the combos. Look at that twist. Let's see if we can bite on the front axle at all. Yeah, we are. Come on, nope, we just slid. Nice recovery. So as I was saying, I think we've had a pretty good look at all the combos, all the options, as well as the truck. Let's try this one more time. See if we can't get, yeah, there we go. We're getting a little grip. Gotta finish this out strong, right? Up and over, there we go. All right, well I think that's gonna wrap up testing, and we've had a really good look at the basic capabilities here of the vehicle and a great look at all these wheel tire combos. And as always, it is next to impossible for me to pick a favorite set here. So you're gonna have to let me know in the comments which is your favorite set. Mine always seems to just jump to whatever set I've got mounted up at the time. But I think that's gonna do it for testing. It's finally that time. We are done with this build overview slash wheel tire extravaganza, if you will. And as you can see, I ended up swapping back to the WTMicro wheels. I think those are just super appropriate for this. If I had to pick one, those would be it. But not to discount any of these other sets, they all look super good. Give you the deep dish look, wide stance, and then man, I like those just solid black spokes. So 4 great options for this build. A little more than usual, but I think it deserves it here. This thing is really just lacking a ladder and a fire hose, and we have a pretty appropriate little off-road fire vehicle here, but just could not be happier with this. And again, Matthew just knocked it out of the park with those wheels. So if you're looking for the wheels, they're not on Etsy, they're on his new website, which I believe is wtmicro.shop, but you can Google that and find those guys. But just can't wait to see what he comes out with next. This extended cab was a great evolution of the Willy truck. So he's always tweaking what he's got and then adding new stuff, but just never a disappointment when you get his work in hand. So anyways, hope you had a good time. Hope you learned something, and if not, oh well. But anyways, want to say thank you for watching, and until next time, peace.